Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's a special video today. Me and Luke having a little bit of a chat about the year in review. Bit of a different video for us today.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it was my idea to do this, but we thought we'd get on camera, show you who we are, and talk some games.
Yeah, I've actually been on camera on a few videos back in time, but we kind of phased it out. I don't know.
There were so many dislikes, we had to move on from it.
Yeah, we got so much hate on my face that we had to cut it out. But is this the first time you're appearing on camera?
I think I did it for a really old video, Warhammer Chaos, that game. Chaos
2021.
game.
Yeah, one of our really old videos.
Really old, yeah. So, but look, we should show our faces every now and then. Here we are. Good to see you all.
Yes, and first of all, obviously, thank you to everyone for the support throughout the year. We feel like the community is growing very well so far. So, really exciting year for us, and we've hit new heights. We began the year 2,000, just under 2,000 subscribers, I think.
Yeah. And we actually set a goal, I think, for 5,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And I laughed at you, and I was like, that isn't going to happen, Tom. Dream on. So we surpassed it.
You were like aiming for 3K. So
yes,
we're both super happy to be at 6.5 as of the recording of this video. So yeah, thank you again to everyone who's supported us throughout the year, and 2024 is going to be even better. But
yeah, thanks guys. Want to say thanks as well from myself. Great support from different communities, Star Trek, Wargaming, all the lists that we've done. Bannerlord, just absolutely awesome. And stick around, we got some great plans for next year. Let's stop talking rubbish and get on with the games of the year, I guess.
Yeah, so do you want to kick it off with your number 5?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really doing mine in any particular order. You know, on this channel, we play a lot of games that people don't know about, more random games. And although we're trying to break a bit more into the mainstream, like at Christmas, I literally just put away a lot of my niche games and I started playing Immortals of Avium, Avatar. I played all those games over Christmas just to get them out my system. And I really enjoyed them, but they're not in my games of the year list. So first of all, Silica, a game that we both really enjoyed.
Yeah, you brought this up to me. I never heard of it, but you were like, "Oh, this is great game. That's an RTS slash first-person shooter," which was a thing back in time, but they kind of went out of popularity, I believe. And
100%.
There's been a resurgence of these type of games, I think.
There's another game that we actually played, but I never got a chance to review, called Executive Assault 2. That's also one to check out if you're into this type of thing. But yeah, Silica just blew me away. I fired it up. It had such an expansive Dune-like sand environment. I said, Tom, you should check this game out and we should play some games together. And we actually ended up making a few friends actually on there as well who joined the channel. Really cool game. I think that it needs a lot of development, and performance was particularly bad, which is why I would start with it. But overall, they have made some really big strides, and it's one of the more exciting early access projects out there, I think.
Yeah, I remember before you got your new computer this year, you were on the old one, and there were certain maps which would just literally destroy your computer on the sand with the storms and stuff.
My old computer is currently a burning piece of rubble right next to my desk because of that game. Yeah, I mean, even now, performance optimization isn't great, but the 4070 Ti is doing a much better job.
It's a one-man show, right, as well?
Yes, supported by the Bohemia Interactive developers, I think. He's on some sort of program with them.
Right, okay. Yeah, but I had a big amount of fun playing that game. I felt like the humans are much more playable than the bugs, though. That might have just been my take.
I think when you played it, they hadn't yet added in air units, and they have actually made a lot of improvements to the bugs.
Okay, so we're definitely going to feature it on the channel next year, like an update, how it's doing. But I can definitely hit stamp of endorsement on this one as well. A huge amount of fun. And a big shout out to Zaris, who we made friends with in that game and provided some music for us on the channel throughout the year.
Yeah, some really good music for a lot of the videos I did, so I really appreciated that relationship. And yeah, just one caveat to this video. We're probably going to say a load of stuff, and it's not going to be fact checked. So off the top of my head, I may get a lot of stuff wrong, but, you know, we'll go with it.
Yeah, it's going to be a very casual, chatty video. Podcast style. I hate it when people go like, I've got a podcast, but you know, we're just going to talk as we do on a daily basis about gaming, and just try to bring you guys that style of video today. So I'll kick things off on my side with Pharaoh. A New Era, which was a game that I reviewed upon release. It was February, I believe. And huge amount of backlash on that video in terms of people said the game paled in comparison to the original, but I actually really liked the remake. I thought it was a fresh take, and it still felt like a fresh new game, while still giving me the nostalgia vibes. However, a lot of people weren't happy upon the release, which I did understand some of their complaints, like mini-map function, stuff like that. But they have done a huge amount of work, and that has been reflected in the reviews throughout the year.
And dude, one of our learnings from YouTube have been that if there is anything to get on the back of on a game, gamers will do it and they will target it and they will target it. So I don't think that video got a huge amount of backlash. It was a very popular video for us, but I just think that the minority tend to have a loud voice and they latched onto a few things and that was it. And that happens. We found that on the channel. You can make one mistake and everybody will pile in. So, you only see the negative comments then.
Yeah. However, the game fell to mixed reviews on Steam, but now is
Right, okay.
trending towards mostly positive or very positive, I believe. So it shows that there were some issues, which I do recognize, but there were some things that people brought up I did not kind of gel with. People, as I was a huge fan of the original game as well from 1999, people were like, oh, they should have changed the combat back to that. And I just remember the combat in the original game being a nightmare. And then people were suddenly, hardcore nostalgia for that type of combat, and it was always the worst part of the game for me. So as a city builder, fantastic remake, really did well with it, and a huge amount of fun, particularly if you played the original, but you don't have to have played, which I like about that.
Yeah, I mean, I got some time with it as well, and I have to say I did think it was a very good remake, very solid. Didn't really align with the criticisms that came along, but I didn't play a huge amount of it. Overall, I think a really solid pick from you on that front.
And the caveat to that is that I probably liked it so much because I've played the original obsessively. I've completed all the campaigns, so you can put a little maybe asterisk that I enjoyed it more because of that. But over to you. What's your next game?
The next one I'm going to throw out there is a bit of a surprise for me, and I kind of threw it in at the last minute, and that was the Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon, which actually ended up on my list of Skyrim-like games as well. A really excellent project in a very dark fantasy universe, which does play like Skyrim. I just think that the project has massive potential. I don't think it's quite there yet, but I really enjoyed it as I played it throughout the year. And I hit around 20 hours, which was a lot for me this year. We looked at our Steam stats, right? And I played over 280 games. I hardly got over 10 hours in any game this year because we're reviewing so many titles and playing so many different things. So this was a game that I came back to more than once during the year, and I take that as a strong point. The graphics are great. Performance, once again, is not amazing, but I think it shows our different mentalities. I'm always looking for the next best product and early access titles. And yeah, I love being out there on games that are in development. And I know some people hate it and they don't want early access, but it really suits my personality to buy these things up and play them. So
yeah, you are always bringing up projects to me out of the blue, and I've never even heard of them. And you're like, hey, there's this early access project, and it has like 20 reviews or something, and you're like, oh, it looks great. So I don't know even how you find them, to be honest with you. But
I'm deep on Steam. I'm very deep on Steam.
I know nothing about that game. Tainted Grail, Avalon. So I'm super intrigued for you to actually bring it onto the channel, because that is probably be my first intro to it. But I know you put it in the list. Where did you put it in the list?
I think it came number one. I think it was my number one.
All right.
Because it is, the quality of it is so high. And I think I said in the actual list video that, when you play Skyrim and all of a sudden you look at your inventory and it's full of absolutely every piece of crap that you can find in the game.
Like knives and forks and plates that you've just picked up for no reason.
Within the first 10 minutes of playing Tainted Grail, I had a full inventory full of absolute rubbish that I didn't need. So that was a good sign. That was a very good sign. And also, like, another caveat, this top list isn't going to be your standard AAA games, right? We're gonna fly around a bit here and pick out different titles.
I would say we're not really gonna mention many AAA games. I don't know if you could count any of them as AAA.
Well, no one gives them to us, so what can we do?
But yeah, so I'll bring in my next one now, which is going to be Age of Wonders 4, which we also reviewed upon release. a really strong 4X game overall. Me and you both really enjoyed the Civilization series throughout the years, but I also have a tendency to be drawn to very much fantasy-based, turn-based games with like Heroes 3 and all the kind of incarnations of those sort of games as well. And this one just blew out the water from a 4X point of view, but also the massive thing here is the amount of customization that you can
Right.
achieve in the game. It was insane. And the beautiful thing is it's persistent. So it has like multiverses in it. So when you play, you'll come across your own race that you create in another game
Oh wow, that's
down
cool.
the line. And it's really cool because you're like, oh my God, it's my people and I'm fighting
Yeah,
against them
yeah.
now. So it's just a huge amount of fun.
Awesome.
However, there is a caveat with this one as well.
Paradox. Going
It's
to be a million
Paradox,
DLC.
and they've already released the first DLC.
Oh, come on.
And I already feel like I'm behind. Almost like I can't load the game up anymore because I don't have the latest version of the
I'm
game.
like that. I have to own every single DLC or I can't play that game.
One of the things that to this day really annoys me is I can't load up EU4 anymore, a game I have
Ugh.
over 2,000 hours in, because I've fallen behind the DLC and I'm like, would have to pay, I think, €100 plus to catch up. I,
Yeah.
I, I hate that policy.
And everybody's playing a completely different version of the game. It's just really weird. And they need to stop doing it because I think it is actually hurting their business overall. I think they need to have a think about it. There are certain games where I'm more forgiving. I know we had some pushback in the year on Warhammer Relics of War, Gladius, because of the
Another
DLC
4X.
policy. However, that company is very small, and I felt like every time they released a DLC, it was an opportunity for me to support them. Whereas Paradox are one of the biggest gaming companies in the world. Perhaps that's how they became so big. Who knows? Perhaps commercially it works for them, but I just don't like the policy, and yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, so an immense game though. It looks beautiful. If you like 4X, you like fantasy style games, that kind of I'd say feel and vibe, you'll absolutely love Age of Wonders 4. I can't
It's
really.
really unfortunate for me because often we only get what no one ever gives us two keys. Some people do give us two keys, but rarely we take different paths, right? So I don't get to play Age of Wonders 4 because you took it for the channel. So it's definitely one of the pains in the backside of having two of us. But I mean it's a game that I would definitely think about picking up because it looks really up my street.
Yeah, I think you'd really enjoy it too. So over to
Awesome.
you for your next one.
Over to me. Okay, coming in next, SGS NATO's Nightmare. Now, I have been pretty good at bringing niche war games onto the channel. I am a huge Hex Encounter fan now. Even over Christmas, I said that I was playing Avatar and Immortals of Avium. I ended up picking up a small hex-based counter game called RBN Studios Gettysburg, and I've put as much time into that
I've,
as any of the
I've
others.
seen you on that game so much. It's insane.
Can't stop playing it. I love Hex Encounter, and the SGS series does it the best because the games work really well. I've been playing a lot of the old Slytherin and AGO'd strategy games, and they only run at 25 frames per second. It's really frustrating to scroll the map, whereas in SGS, everything works really well. And the guy who developed this in particular is a good friend of mine now. I chat to him all the time. He's a supporter of the channel. So I really appreciate, him reaching out with information. And he scaled this war game up to a whole new level. It took SGS to a really big scale, which was
So a
awesome.
question for you: why? Because I know we've had a good few SGS titles on the channel, and you've probably played even more. Why is this one better than the others, or why is this your pick for the list?
Honestly, I could pick any one of them. We the People was also an excellent game
Yeah.
and was probably more in my period of history that I enjoy. However, I was very close to the development of NATO's Nightmare and what was happening and the scale and the fact they brought tactical nuclear weapons into it as well. It made it really interesting. So yeah, I just think that it took the SGS series to a whole nother level of complexity. I know you don't know any of the Gary Grigsby games, but I've recently been playing War in the Pacific, and it
Oh
is
yeah.
the most complicated game I've ever seen. So I like the way the SGS titles managed to level up, but still keep it simple on some levels. So it was great.
Fair enough. I've only dipped my toe in with Higher Safari in the SGS series. Had a good time though, enjoyed it. So maybe can feature some more next year on the channel. think it's
Yeah, I'm
going
going
to
to
be.
keep in touch with the guys, keep in touch with Philippe, and see if anything comes our way. I think we'd be happy to feature them. They're very good quality titles.
So I'll bring in my next game now, which is a game which drives me a bit nuts for a very good reason. Against the Storm. So Hooded Force, Ermite Games are the developer.
We love you,
And
Hooded Horse. Great developer, great
we
publisher.
absolutely love Hooded Horse games on the channel. And we're not paid to say that either. So
No, we're not.
it's a city builder, but it is very different and very unique. So for me, it was a big travesty because I was supposed to review this for the channel, but I got sick during the filming, so I have like a half-finished video on this game. And the reason why this one is so fun and unique is it has all the traditional elements you expect in a city build. Supply, demand, resource chains, all that stuff. But it also brings in rogue-like persistent elements in the game. So as you go, there's like a persistent world map that you're constantly expanding out onto, building different settlements. And it brings different challenges, and the challenge level goes from like extremely hard to super relaxed, which I like. Sometimes with a city builder, I don't want to be, oh my god, on the clock, am I managing this in time? I just want to relax and build my city and expand.
Yeah,
And I just feel like everything was exemplary, and that is reflected in the Steam reviews, which are overwhelmingly positive as of the
definitely.
filming of this video. And I just think they knocked out the park on this one.
Great. I mean, I also have a copy of this game. Hooded Horse is one of those publishers that gives us 2 keys, so we appreciate that. And it just looks a really high quality title. And like you said, overwhelmingly positive. There's nothing really bad to say about this game, is there, that I've seen?
No, if you like city builders and if you enjoy having some unique challenges to it, so you're not just playing the same missions over and over again, everything feels a little bit different every time you load up any mission, and you
Yeah,
can customize everything, the challenge, etc. It's phenomenal, so I can only recommend it.
amazing. Cool. Very good game. Happy to stay in touch with them next year, especially around Manor Lords. We'd love a copy. I think in one of my videos I threatened to fight you to the death for a copy of Manor Lords, so
Yeah, maybe we can film that as well for some content.
we could definitely. That'd be great. All right, moving on. My next game is Shadows of Doubt. In some ways, really my dream game. A very immersive game where you play as a detective in a procedurally generated city. It blew me away when I first played it. I love when games do something different, and I love it when games are immersive. And I have to say, this background, which is behind me, kind of looks like one of the cities in Shadows of Doubt.
I was actually thinking that myself.
Yeah, yeah. An excellent game. The only thing that brought it down for me on occasion, there were some bugs that stopped me from continuing some of the missions, which was
Yeah.
frustrating. But I have to say, a truly stunning project, a beautiful game, and designed really, really well. And I love the pixel voxel art or whatever you call it. I'm not an expert on that stuff, but it looks great. Yeah, just a brilliant title, and the immersion for me, the immersion factor of that game is just
Yeah.
off the scale.
So I only play because obviously we got one key, so you took it for the review, but I did play it during the demo period on Steam
Oh
Next
yeah,
Fest. I forgot when that was. I think it was the year before, but really loved it. Spent like probably an hour just in the apartment in the beginning, looking through everything, trying to unravel the conspiracy right from the off. But it was so atmospheric. I think I'm gonna have to pick that game up in the Steam sale that's going on right now and dive back into it.
you definitely enjoy it. I mean, it's an excellent game. I think there's nothing really more to say. I mean, once again, performance sometimes was a bit hit and miss, but as soon as I upgraded to the new PC, Alienware, yay! I didn't have any problems with it whatsoever. Then
Yeah, and it's probably one of the most unique titles that's come out in many years, I would say.
agreed, and I love that. I love it when people try something new. They don't always get everything right, but it's great to experience something completely different. That's what we're about on this channel. We're not
Mm.
Call of Duty. We're not NBA 2-3. What was it called? 2K
And
2-3. And we got slagged off for not putting that on in one of our
yeah,
lists, right? And we were just
not
like,
putting
we're not going to play that.
the latest NBA title on our list. Yeah, it's funny. So I'll change gears for my next game into maybe a genre you don't enjoy that much, which is
Right.
roguelite.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna say Death Must Die. And
Okay.
the reason I'm saying that game is because I picked it up for the review, did the review not so long ago, and have got over 50, I think close to 60 hours in the game already. absolutely hooked, but I absolutely adore this style of game.
Okay.
Hades was another one. I think I've got close to 150 hours in
I
Hades.
played that. I played that, but it just I just bounced off them. They're great. I get that they're great, but there's no immersion for me. So sometimes I struggle. But then again, I did review Train Sim World 4, and that's not your thing. So
Yeah,
we'll move on.
we both have our lanes, our avenues that we stay in. So this is very much one I can only endorse. It was, I believe it's early access. I could be wrong, but it is early access as far as I'm aware. And it's super cheap. So it's like €6 non-discounted, or €7. It's something along those lines anyway. I'd have to check. But for the price of what you're paying, it is phenomenal. There are some mechanics which I think they have, let's say, lifted from other franchises, like the god mechanics from Hades. It's very similar, but that doesn't
Yep.
mean it's bad. That doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. And they've got all these influences and inspirations, and it's just a small team of 4 devs, and they've done a great job. Super addictive. If you like that type of game, you will play a lot of it. I am really excited to see how they develop.
So none for me then. I won't be playing any of that one then.
No, but you liked Vampire Survivors, and it's very similar to that,
I did. I liked that on Steam Deck
and
because
it
it was
works on Steam
mobile.
Deck very well.
Okay. All right. Well then, it looks a quality title. I can't say that it doesn't. Just different
Not
interests, I
always
guess.
your cup of tea, right?
No, but when I start firing up DCS, you start yawning.
Yeah, we once did a video. It's one of the very first videos on this channel
Oh, it's so
together.
bad. It's
It's
so
like
bad.
2 hours of us just taking off,
Yeah, and crashing.
and then I crash immediately because I don't have a joystick, and it was just horrific.
It's awful. Let's move on. Let's move on. Right, it's my
Right.
my final choice, and one of the things that I wasn't into so much, which you and your partner are both into heavily, is board games.
Mm-hmm.
And this game got me into gaming through board games. So it was Dune Imperium. It was an adaptation of a very popular board game of the same name. And I got completely pulled into this game and played it and played it and played it. I think I put well over 20 hours into it at this point. I play it on Steam Deck when I'm in bed. Just a really excellent adaptation, and it just runs brilliantly. I just got so hooked. And then from that, I went on and started playing other board games and realized there's not a huge gap between war games, like hex-based war games, and board games. They are all very much related. So I think that's why I loved it so much.
Yeah, I've always been surprised you haven't enjoyed digital board games more. Like you're more into the wargaming hex encounter style, and I feel like it's a very small leap over to that style of game. I haven't played this one, but I think I'm going to pick it up probably this week in the sale, as it's on sale, I believe.
You definitely should. It's really good. It's in early access, so they keep adding new things to it. And one of the things I really enjoy are the challenge mode. So you can go in and there's different variations on how you actually have to compete, and there's different modifiers in each game. And then you have to complete all these different challenges, and then it gives you a score at the end of it, and you get on a leaderboard. It's super addictive. It's really fun. I'm not very good, by the way, but it's just a fun game.
That's a given.
Whatever.
But for is it, are you into it so much though because you're really into the Dune universe, or as would you still love it as much if it wasn't related back to Dune?
So yeah, no, I think I would play it if it wasn't in the Dune universe. Now, obviously, I do like Dune. Now, it is the film version of Dune, so if you have a problem with that, maybe stay away, but that doesn't bother me whatsoever. I think the mechanics of the game, I did watch a lot of it on YouTube first, and I think that made me buy it. But overall, no, I don't think the Dune thing was absolutely pivotal to why I think it's such a great game. And it did make me go out and look at a lot of other board games, so obviously a good thing.
So that would be something, because I'm not really into the Dune universe. I haven't really read the books or anything like that, so I'll probably enjoy it because I love digital board games as well as obviously physical ones. So that could be one for me.
You definitely would enjoy it. I don't know how it compares to a lot of the board games you might play, but overall, you take control of different points. There's different tracks that you can move up to get influence, and you basically have to get to a certain amount of victory points to trigger the end game. Really, really cool. And now it's got me into board games so much that I'm even playing a really niche Civil War one called Fort Sumter, the Succession Crisis.
Yeah.
Really cool little game. I think it's like €2 on Steam or something, and it's a really fun game, especially if you're a history buff. Really enjoying it. So I'm gonna explore board games more next year. Definitely on the channel as well.
And for my final pick for this list, I'm going to go with KeeperFX, as you know, it might be a bit of a cheat one, but it
Yeah,
has
hang on. Is that not just like me doing Star Trek Remastered mod
com-
as a?
completely different because
Okay, all right. I'll start. I'll shut up.
it went to the 1.0 release. So I feel like this is them, after 15 years of work, releasing it fully to the public. And our video that we'd done on it previously actually spiked a lot in interest after that. And
Cool.
it is fantastic. If you love Dungeon Keeper, I have made a huge amount of Dungeon Keeper content on the channel, Dungeon Keeper like games, a review of kind of my take and the tragedy of the Dungeon Keeper's demise under EA. Won't go too much into that side of things, but this is a homage to that, but it brings it into the modern world. It works. You can now have huge maps. It works with high resolutions, which obviously it was a DOS game back in the day, so it wasn't, didn't scale at all. And they've added a huge amount of new content, which I think is very lore appropriate as well, like the Time Mage and Druid units, which they haven't added to the old campaigns. They've only added to new campaigns that they built for the new release. Fantastic game. I absolutely adore it. And I think if you remember Dungeon Keeper and you like Dungeon Keeper, that you can't really go wrong here.
Definitely. I mean, even that game recently, SteamWorld Dig, I think it was. Um, looks a lot like Dungeon Keeper as well, and I thought that looked really intriguing. And any game that reminds me of Dungeon Keeper, I'm like, let's give that a go. So yeah,
Yeah, there are some games which I will forever have a soft spot, and any games that remind me of that, I'll always give them a more than a opportunity, a
the
chance.
immersion of possessing like an imp in your dungeon, I'll never forget that. It was really really cool, and going around and doing all sorts of different things. Just a great game, and there's no argument from me on that one.
Yeah, so that is it for my list and your list, I believe. Any honourable mentions that you would like to bring up?
You know what? This could go on for a while, but I'm going to go, first of all, with Nuclear Option, which I'm preparing an early access review for in the new year. It's basically a light flight sim, but it's just brilliant. Guys, you have to go check it out. It's not very expensive either. I regularly throw up a LT gaming server as well to jump in and play co-op with people. It's got full multiplayer support. The graphics, not on the DCS level, but that's almost kind of cool. They're actually kind of niche and retro. Just a great game, and I can't wait to review it. So watch out for that one. Like I said, RBM Studios Gettysburg, tiny little war game, €5, absolutely brilliant. Star Trek Infinite. I'm going to say this, right? The
Controversial one.
game,
Oh.
controversial one. I put 25 hours into it, so I can't say that I disliked it. It has some very weird design choices, like the evolution from the Miranda to the Intrepid class makes no sense. It would be Miranda, Constitution, Excelsior, and onwards. They just get it all kind of weirdly messed up. But I will say, and I'm going to stop at this, it's not as bad as the reviews tell you it is, and it's
Okay.
not as good as we hoped.
Star Trek's had two new releases this year, Star Trek Resurgence and Infinite. Have either matched up to your expectations with them?
Well, Star Trek Resurgence was more of a full motion video story
Yeah.
game, in that sense. It was a good story, but not what I wanted from a Star Trek game. Star Trek Infinite is a little bit more in the direction of what I wanted, but obviously comes with a lot of problems. Is it as good as the mods for Stellaris? They made a lot of strange design choices in the game that don't make any sense. It doesn't add up as you play along. I hope they can improve it, but we will see.
Yeah. My honourable mentions. I know we don't, we're not big on the AAA side of things, and this is a game that I missed a little bit upon release, which is Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's a very good game, and the reason why it's not in my games of the year is that whilst it is a very good game for me, I was obsessed, as you can attest to, with Baldur's Gate 2, and it fell short on that front. I didn't think the storytelling matched the level, particularly the villains and things like that. The epicness of Baldur's Gate 2. Now, they are hugely removed by time, so Baldur's Gate 3 is a much more polished next-gen product, of course, but I couldn't kind of feature it in my top 5 list for the year because of my relationship back to Baldur's Gate 2. So
Is it not just Divinity Original Sin 3?
it's more akin to Dragon Age Origins style of gaming, which I
Okay.
really enjoyed that game as well. But for me, it had this heritage of Baldur's Gate, and it has a huge amount of the kind of lore and characters very similar. There are crossover characters between the series, but I still couldn't bring it to put it in my top 5 because of that.
Okay, fair enough. You didn't.
Maybe
You
that's a
actually.
little unfair, but
You never let me finish mine. I was going to go on and on.
yeah, if I let you go on, we'll go about 50 games deep at this point.
Just one before you go again. Immortals of Avium, an EA game, which is obviously why it got hammered as well. But I recently picked that up, and I will say it delivers a really interesting AAA blast of magic. It's different. It's got really great environments, really cool puzzle solving. It's not a 10 out of 10. It's more of a 7 out of 10, but it is enjoyable. So I just want to throw that one out there as well. As a AAA, it's a fun experience. I've really enjoyed it over Christmas.
Fair enough. All right, so I think I'm just going to keep it to one honorable mention from my
Oh,
side.
I can go on then. I've got more. RoboCop, Rogue City. No, I'll shut up. I'll be quiet.
All right, so I think we can wrap it up with kind of what we hope for the channel in 2024, what the direction will be, what games we hope to feature. I'll give you
What
the
about
floor.
highlights and lowlights?
Highlights and lowlights. So from a video perspective,
From just a channel perspective, I'm going to say I'll start with a highlight, and I think one of the highlights has been building really great relationships. Slitherine, Microprose, Hooded Horse, all really excellent relationships that we built, and it's really fun to do that on YouTube, right? And I think meeting some different people, some of the people from our channel, that's been really awesome as well. On the flip side, a low light on that is I did fall out with Stardot Games as well, and I don't feature them on the channel. I'm not going to go into the details of what happened. They upset me. I won't be featuring them on the channel, but that can happen when you are building these sort of relationships. So for me, those were one highlight and one low light.
yeah. So highlight for me was having 2 100K videos on the channel. One from yourself on Star Trek Remastered mod, and one from myself on Bannerlord upcoming mods.
Hey, you forgot Warhammer Relics of War. That's 2 from me.
3 100K videos, but it only just crossed 100K in the last 2 weeks or so, right? I think.
Well, that is 2023, Tom, just so you know how the year works.
I'm aware of that, but it wasn't in
Okay.
my top of my mind for our 100
I'll lay
games.
off you. I'll lay off you.
So yeah, we had 3 100K videos through the year, and that's just been a big highlight because the previous year we only had one, which got to 50K, and so it just feels like a huge jump in progress. However, it also creates expectation for 2024 to be even more stellar and the growth to be even better. So that was one
Definitely.
highlight. One low light from me is I think we've sometimes had some bad misses on things. And I don't think the quality of those videos that didn't do as well was poor. It just shows that we're not at the point yet where we can make absolutely everything on the channel. And I hope to one day be there. But,
Yeah.
sometimes we make these passion projects and you put a huge amount of work into them and they don't really perform as per expectation. But we're always trying to push the quality, is what I would say, in terms of like a silver lining on that one.
I think list videos have been a huge, bonus for us. Star Trek, Bannerlord, they've all been really big areas. But I think as we transition to being a bigger channel, things like Star Trek will be harder to do. I'm not going to just do Bridge Commander every single video. I really want to focus on a wide array of games and then bring in Bridge Commander when there's, mod updates and things like that. Because I think that's the way that we want to grow. We want in 2024, I want to do more mainstream stuff, but also continue to do the niche as well.
Yeah, and that's something we've never really said on any video, but we are variety gamers. I
We are.
think most people are, to be honest. There are obviously avenues of extreme interest that we have. For yourself, Star Trek gaming. I'm into the Star Trek universe in terms of TV shows.
In some ways, more than me, which
Yeah.
is funny.
Uh,
Yeah.
but in terms of gaming, I've played very few of them. And
Yeah.
it's very much your thing, but like this avenue that really served us well over the years. For me, Bannerlord would be the example of that. But I really want to feature more variety, because that's how most people approach things. We don't play one game forever or one type of game.
Dude,
We
I
play.
played 280 games this year. I am a lunatic when it comes to playing. I don't stick at anything for very long.
Yeah,
No
it's so
attention span.
weird contrasting our stats, because I play games a lot more, but I play a lot less games.
Yeah,
You play a huge variety of games, but you play a lot less time overall.
I do. I do.
But we're
I'm
both.
trying to change that. I'm trying to change that. Like even over Christmas, I bought like 10 games, and I'm trying to put time into each of them. But
That's a
hey,
fair point. You have sent me a message. You'd be like, "Hey, just pick this up," and then like an hour later, you'd
before
be like, "Hey, I refunded it."
the other thing I'd love to change in 2024 is not asking me to go on camera after I've had my one night out of the year, and with the only night that I drank this year, and then asking me to go on camera the next day. So I appreciate this.
I would counter that with, you drank on the one night of the year, which was not New Year's Eve. You drank the day before. Who
Well,
does
me and my
that?
partner, we're not so much into New Year's Eve. We'll probably be in bed by about 10 o'clock tonight. We just don't
I'm,
care.
I'm struggling to, now I'm like
Yeah,
5 o'clock. I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I could hit the hay now. But yeah, so
definitely.
that's our aspirations for the channel. If people do have any, response to that, what you would like us to feature, any style of video you'd like us to feature, let us know. I mean, we're open
And
to building new avenues for sure.
one thing I really want to make clear is we play the games that we review.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to call anybody out or anything, but there are many channels out there who are not doing that. And it's really clear to me when I review games and I watch their videos that they're not doing that. We always play at a minimum of 10 hours, right? Mainly more when we review our games. So we kind of pride ourselves on actually playing the games.
Yeah, and one thing I would say I think is prevalent, and one thing like people should know maybe on YouTube channels, like unless you're a certain size, you're not going to get certain games. So when
Correct.
people and channels have a review of a game, like a AAA release, and they don't have, I'd probably say 50k subs,
They
they
didn't get
didn't
that
get
game.
that game. They did not get that game. So that's people can put the pieces together there if you can work that out.
But yeah, no, overall, getting back to, some sense of normality, really excited for 2024. I think we've got some pretty big goals. We're both, we both work, we both have families, so we sometimes things don't go to plan, but we are always trying to provide you guys with interesting games and things that you haven't heard of and honest reviews, I would say.
All right, and to put a kind of expectation on it, where do you expect to be in subs at the end of 2024?
I told you I want to break 10k, and I don't. I know you think that's conservative, but who knows? It was a big year for us this year. I don't want to set expectations too high, but if we break 10k and we head northwards of that, I would be absolutely delighted.
I'm not saying that's. I'm also going to say 10k. I think we're aligned on that. I think that's the next evolution. Obviously, going to double digit thousands if you like, and that, I think if we could achieve that, that's a big tick for us in terms of
But
success for the
I
channel.
don't think it's important, right? I think like even us talking about this, it's not that interesting. I think what's interesting is focusing on delivering for our consumers who watch our content. I think that's what we really want to do, and we really want
Yeah.
feedback. So if you want stuff when we put up polls, let us know. If there's games you want to, play against us, I will happily set up some more gaming sessions. Join the Discord. We'd love a bit more chatter in there next year because it's still quite quiet. But yeah, we just really appreciate the support. And from me, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the whole channel.
Yeah.
I am. All right, guys. Appreciate it. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Let us,
Yeah. This
whatever.
one is
Say what
very
you like in the
much.
comments.
This video is very much a passion one for the people who want to listen. So we're
All right,
not no
relax,
big
Tom. Calm down.
expectations.
Calm down.
No big expectations for this in terms. But I hope you guys enjoy it, and a nice chance for us to talk to you directly more. Bye bye.
Goodbye. Bye bye.